Reporting in front of the Capitol that's under repair, I'm Sarah Allen for this week's Starting Line. Governor Mark Dayton's recently released budget proposal calls for spending $109 million for free voluntary statewide pre-kindergarten programs for 4-year-olds. Representative Erin Murphy, a DFLer from St. Paul, supports universal preschool. She is sponsoring House File 46, a bill that would guarantee preschool education for all 4-year-olds in Minnesota. Can you describe what your bill would do?
The bill is a very simple proposal, and all it does is provide funding to make sure that there's a voluntary option for families across the state of Minnesota for 4-year-old preschool in schools. And I'm so excited that there's so much attention being paid to early learning and childcare this session. And since I've been elected, there's been lots and lots of discussion about what we can do to improve early learning, to close the achievement gap, and for me personally, getting after poverty for the next generation. And we've talked about it a lot, and I think we know what tools are necessary to achieve those goals, but we haven't really been in a place to do it, and we finally are. And so there's a lot of support for this idea, and I think we're going to make some progress this year.
Last session, all day, everyday kindergarten for Minnesota children was signed into law. Do you think there's the same amount of support for this bill?
When I came into the legislature in 2008, we talked about expanding all day, everyday kindergarten. And it took us until 2013 to make that the law of Minnesota, and it was implemented in 2014. And what we needed was a stably balanced budget. And we finally achieved that in 2013 when we raised some taxes and we paid back our schools and we made a really strong investment in education. I think the idea of preschool is something that Minnesotans understand and they support, but we may have to do a little work to build the support necessary to pass it here in the legislature. Ideally for me, we would be thinking about early learning and childcare from zero, from the prenatal period of time, so people are getting excellent health care, and until they're ready to go to kindergarten when they're 5. We should be thinking more about targeted interventions and opportunities for learning for those young kids. We know now from the research that they're so capable of learning, and lots of kids are coming to school more than ready to learn, but other kids are coming to school not yet ready to learn. And that gap between those kids are really causing some issues in our schools for the teachers. And I think if all of our kids come to kindergarten ready to learn, because they've had excellent child care and they've had a great opportunity in preschool, it's just going to make their educational experience more valuable to them. And when I think about our future and a baby boom generation that's going to retire, we're going to need a more productive workforce, and education is the answer to get us there. And that's why I think it's really important that we tackle this issue now.
Do you believe that the $109 million proposed by Governor Dayton in his 2-year budget is enough for your bill?
I was delighted that preschool, pre-K was included in Governor Dayton's budget. And I've had a look at what he's proposing. His proposal ramps us up gradually to universal pre-K. He introduces the idea strongly as universal pre-K, and it's voluntary for families. So he's making a commitment to the whole state of Minnesota, but the funding is going to come online gradually. And he's also, in his proposal, suggesting that the state pay half and the school districts pay half. We know now there are about 23% of Minnesota schools that are already offering universal pre-K in their school districts, and those school districts are already laying out the money to do that, and those local property taxpayers are already doing that. So we're going to add to that and grow the program over time. Given the fact that we have a bit of a surplus and a growing economy, I think we have this opportunity now on the balanced budget that is in place. But we always have to be mindful about what we're spending and making sure that we're not putting ourselves into a deficit situation in the future. So I appreciate Governor Dayton's approach to paying for this into the future.
Now, where is this bill in the legislative process, and how do you see it moving forward?
The bill has had a hearing already in the Senate, and it's been laid over for inclusion in the Senate's budget. I am working very hard to get it heard in the House, and know that I'm going to be meeting with Chair Loon in order to talk with her about the bill and to see if I can get it heard in the House.
Coming up next week, we'll have a new starting line bill and look to see if there's been any movement on Representative Murphy's universal pre-K bill. And remember, hundreds of bills get introduced every legislative session in Minnesota. All of them first have to cross the starting line.